Hey guys, it's Vandy as my Craft Vanguard deck profile. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and subscribe. This time we're covering Lyrical Monasterio DZ Set 5 for MMe-Glams. And I am so surprised that I am saying this, but I am really excited to do this deck profile because we finally have a new MMe-Glam. And I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it because this card changes how the entire deck plays. And by changes how the entire deck plays, I mean makes it actually functionable because now I do not need to run a copy of the starter in the main deck just to have a backup plan in case I lose both of these and I need an extra Flame G on board to use this skill. So all around, let's go and get the starter, shall we, see what we got, because this deck is really fun to play and they really upgraded this deck. First up, we have our energy generator. It's our ride deck crest. You might have a ride deck crest in your ride deck. Auto ride deck. When you would ride this, put the card into your crest zone. Even when second energy charge 3, continues map to energies on begin ride phase. Energy charge 3, and the act once per turn. Energy blast 7. Draw a card. All around, pretty solid. It increases your hand once per turn if you end up getting that 7 energies. Most of the time, you won't because your energy is used by our new Flam G grade 2 and our most important grade 1. And also the fact you can get 3 energy every turn, though, allows it to at least make it so that if you don't see those, you can try to draw for them. But also, you can pretty much use those skills almost immediately because of the grade 2 only requires 3 energy and this requires 4, so kind of 50-50, but either way, nice card to have in our ride deck as our ride deck crest. Moving on to our starter, we have MMe-Glam Lyrical, grade 0 boost, 5k show, 6k base, auto road upon for second, draw a card, standard starter, nothing survives to free draw if you go second. This deck does heavily require this unit because it does need to be in soul at all times for your abilities to go off, so Blue Crew is the one-up starter in the ride deck because you really do need it. Moving on to our triggers, we have our Over Trigger and Greatest Star Artanza, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power, Over Trigger, Over Trigger in your deck. We're going to view it as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one mutes, it gets +1 for the turn, and if it during draw check, activate its additional effect, which you get during this fight, you, the player, get during your turn. All your rear guards get 10,000 power. All around pretty solid because at least with this version of the deck, it feels like the deck can just go all out on turn 2. Like consistently, I've had a full board every single time I've hit grade 2. So being able to basically get free 10k from that point on and always have a full board to get at least 20k to the rear guard columns and then 10k to the vanguard column at least is pretty solid. So it's nice for offensive pressure. You could run Vulnerable for more consistent multi-attacking. You could run Asphoria for recycling, and that could honestly be important with how the deck plays. You could run the Dark Over Trigger for healing and calling, but I choose to make it Arstranza because, I like running the Nation Over Triggers, but also like in a deck that's really aggressive, it does help out having that extra 20k to the rear guard columns. And you can run any Lyrical Monasterio over you want. If you choose to run the Lyrical Monasterio over, they'll have the exact same skill. I choose to make it Arstranza because she fits closer to the Flam G theme, to my opinion. Then we have Transparent Snowy Knight Bear Toy, grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 4k base, draw tunes, guard, circle points, vanguards, a grade 3 Garter, she gets 5,000 shield. So now she's a 10k shield, she's a draw trigger, so she helps increase the hand and draw into your pieces. And again, when your deck needs to see multiple different MMe-Glams, even if they are easier to hit now, it is still nice to try to get them into your hand consistently and also have guard power in case you don't want to use them for defending, so it's a nice 3 of. Then we have 4 copies of Cheerful Sunshine Wallace, grade 0 boost, in case shield, 5k power. You can make this any crit you want just to make it Wallace because I copied this deck straight from Chris Ryan and I was too lazy to change the crit, so again, it can be any crit you want, but I like to have this as a 4 crit for pressure. Then we have 4 more crit and Precious Tune Edwidge. I do recommend Edwidge. Some decks don't run the effect crit because they rather have a 5k base critical trigger in situations where if you have to call the crit to rear guard circle, you can now at least force out a 5k extra guard on the opponent, which may make the difference in winning and losing, and that's fair. In this deck, I do recommend Edwidge though because of the skill. So grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 4k power. Critical trigger, auto rear guard, add battle she boosted, shove her to soul, choose our music, gets 2k for the turn. Okay, someone gets 2k, that most of the time won't make a difference, but being able to go to soul is the really important part because while yes, there's only one unit that actually takes, okay, technically 2 units that take up soul, but mainly 1 unit that takes up soul, you do have to remember you always have to keep a Blue Crew in soul. There is no way to get her into soul otherwise, so automatically you're playing the game with 2 less soul to work with once you get to grade 3, so in case you need extra soul for your soul blast abilities, that's where Edwidge comes in. So I do recommend having her just in case you need it, and again, 8 crit for pressure. Then we have 4 heals inside of Relief Abolia, grade 0 boost, 15k show, 5k power. I will eventually make her the heal in the tabletop deck. I'm just too lazy to change it right now, but standard heal, nothing special to a free 15k shield. If you end up seeing it when you have more equal damage to your opponent, you can recover damage. You can make it any heal you want. You can even make it the effect heals, but I just rather have a consistent 15k shield of the vanilla heals rather than the fluctuating 10, 25k shield of the counter heals. But again, you do you, and again, Fabolia will eventually become the heal I have in tabletop. I don't know why, I just am too lazy to put it in there. Moving on to our normal units, 2 copies in the main deck of MMe-Glam Blue Crew. So I know I just talked about how at the start of this video I said that I no longer need to run this in the main deck because we now have the newest MMe-Glam, and that is true. I have her in here as a 2 of just in case the situation calls for it. Like, in case I don't have enough CB or I don't draw this for some reason, so I can't send back my Flamglams, and then the only one in deck is her, and I need another Flamglam to use the skill. She is, so at least like now, she's in here as a just in case. Not like an immediate just in case, but now she's a backup plan if the backup plan goes to hell. But if you don't think you need her, which honestly you kind of don't, I called her to rear guard once, and in that situation I didn't even need to do it. I just chose to do it just so I could deck them for a card. But if you want to swap her out for like a soul charger, I say for example Obi, I used to run in the previous build, it's just a soul charge, give it 5k, you can by all means do so. Again, she's just here because I had space for it. So 2 of blue crew, again, just in case option, in case you really do need an extra Flamglam on board. And on to our grade 1s, 4 copies of Dive to Blue Lycris, so grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear guard. When your Vanguard Flamglam and his card name attacks, counterblast 1, bot deck a Flamglam in the drop zone, draw a card, and you, the player, get all your units with Flamglam. The card needs 5,000 power. There are 3 cards in this deck that give the player abilities. This, and this, and it's just very interesting that all of them happen to do that, but all around pretty solid because it allows you to return your Flamglams back to your deck, so you get a little bit more consistency, and again, with limited Flamglams, that is really helpful, even though it does eat into the CB a little bit, which is kind of annoying because, you know, you need that CB for Rogia and the really good supporting Flamglam. It is nice that you at least get to add in a hand card, and you also give your entire board 5k for the turn, and I remember when the deck first came out, and I thought everyone was a Flamglam, so I gave that entire 5k to the board, and I shouldn't have done that because the board was not all Flamglams, it was like 2 actual Flamglams, and then this, and then like 2 of them. But either way though, now that we have an extra Flamglam and the deck consistently can get 4 Flamglams on board that aren't the Vanguard, yeah, I can see this number being very helpful. She gets cards back, she gets 5k to your board, she gets you a hand card. Easy 4 of. The only downside to her is that she eats into the CB a little bit, but honestly, with everything else here applicable, it's worth it. Though you also have to remember it's when the Vanguard attacks, not during the main phase, which I kind of did the last time I played, but take that as you will. 4 of Lycris. Then we have 4 copies of Leave the Makeup to Me, Eshma. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto placed on rearguard circle, energy blast 4, search your deck, or drop zone for up to 1 grade plus Flamglam in his card name, call it to rearguard circle, and this unit gets 5,000 power for that turn. If you search your deck, you shuffle it. I love how that ability is proccable regardless of what grade either player is at. So the second you get to grade 2, if you went second, you can just spend your 4 energy because, you know, you got 3 from, you know, just riding going second, and then you got 3 from entering the ride phase of that turn. You then pay 4 of that energy on plays, get yourself another Flamglam, when your ride line already gave you 2 more on board, and then you do a funny little combo we'll go over later if I remember to do it. But pretty much free rear guard, which is pretty solid to have. The only downside is she does eat into the EB with her good skill compared to the good skill of Grandin over here. Or to be fair, both of her skills are good, but you know what I mean. But if you end up having the EB for her, definitely go for it. And then act rear guard, put her to soul. Choose a card with Flamglam on the card name from drop zone, bot deck, choose one of yours, get 5,000 power for the turn. Okay, cool. She goes to Soul, so now you have Soul Blast fodder for Rogia. She bot decks another Flamglam, so now you have a target for Rogia. She pretty much just turns Rogia on immediately. All around, she's a very good grade 1 to have, and she gives someone 5k as well. What's like about her? She searches the deck, she calls you rear guard, she goes to Soul, she returns your resources. She's just nice to have in an easy 4. The only downside to her is that she has 4 energy blasts for this cost. If it was not for this card would be amazing. But either way, it's still amazing regardless, it would just be better. So 4 of Eshma, good grade 1 support card that allows for the deck to early game rush. And then we have 4 copies of Best Served Hot Warmia. Grade 1 boost is 0 souls, K base continues set null. You have to force sentinels deck on the opponent guard circle. Choose on mutes. It cannot be hit on the battle if your hands to more card. Change the card from hands to card to MPG. Nothing too special about it. Basically, that means if this only one card is in your hand when you place it on guard circle, you don't have to discard, which is great. Because that means you can be as aggressive as in the early game. Spam the ever living hell out of everything that you see here. And then when your opponent eventually counterattacks you for going down to 1 to 0 hand cards, Warmia, middle finger, you're good to go. All around, very solid PG to have. You can run any of the Lyrical Monasterio PGs. I just choose to make it warmer because she came out closer to the time of Flamglam's release. But again, you do you with your PGs. They all have the same skill anyways. Then we have our last grade 1 in the deck, 1 of in the red deck, 3 of in the main deck, because A, she's a Flamglam, and B, you just want to have as many of these as possible. Flamglam Jana. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, honor wrote upon by a grade 2 card Flamglam in the card name, choose a Flamglam Broker from your soul, call that card in this card to rear guard, and show them to soul at the end of the turn. Okay, cool. The second you get to grade 2, you automatically have 2 free rear guards. Again, if you went second, use Eshma, you get another rear guard. You have 4 of your 5 rear guard circles filled, and if you have another hand card, typically it's this for me, you just call that to rear guard. Suddenly you have a full board of grade 2s and 1s, and you're just bomb rushing your opponent down. If they don't pull defensive triggers, well. It's going to be a fun turn for them. All around very solid because that ability alone allows you to just, early rush your board like I just established. And then auto rear guard that she attacked. If your Vanguard's a Flame Glam Bird Crew, how are you going to get this on the Vanguard circle? Oh, I don't know. Maybe this skill, which I keep referencing every now and again. Either way, if you have the blue crew as the Vanguard, retire this unit, counter charge 1. That is helpful because, like I said earlier, this deck does eat into the CB a lot with 3 of its most important supporting cards and just cards in general on the board, or cards that will almost always be on the board, take up CB. Jonah being able to countercharge non-restrictively is pretty good. Granted, she has to be the one that's attacking for that countercharge, but at least you're allowed to countercharge twice in a turn, where most counterchargers nowadays in D only let you countercharge once per turn. So Jana all around pretty solid grade 1, and her retiring self isn't bad at all because, Eshma can fetch her from the drop zone, Rogia can fetch her from the drop zone. There are a lot of ways to get her out, so it's good to have that she can call herself from soul, put her back with blue crew, add for the early game rush, retire herself, get countercharge, and basically be called back from 2 different skills. 3 of them in the main deck, 1 of them in the right deck. Very good grade 1 to have. Then we have our grade 2s, 3 copies of the Heat from the Live hasn't yet cooled down. Filio, grade 2 and set 5 Kashio, 10k base, auto placed on rear guard circle or put on guard circle. If you have a Vanguard Flame Glam in the card name, this unit gets 5,000 power, 5 Kashio to end of your turn for every 2 of your open rear guard circles. Yes, with a rear guard focused deck, obviously you will end up having trouble against opponents that murder your board. And while yes, Flame Glams have a lot of recyclers, being able to possibly have a 15k shield out of this is pretty nice, not to mention the fact that a 20k beat stick is also pretty decent as well when the entire deck is supposed to focus on Flame Glams. And the best part is she doesn't require you to be at a specific grade, so if your opponent's just bomb rushing you right out the get-go, the next deck I'm going to do is a rear guard kill deck, so I feel like this is important for this statement. But if your opponent's killing all your rear guards and they attack you while you're a grade 2, quickly throw down Philo as a quote-unquote trigger, aka 15k shield, and block the attack there, or call it down before you start your bullshit combo on grade 2 turn and just rush your opponent down with a 20k beat stick. All around, very solid card to have that supports the Flam G typing in terms of both aggressive and defensive power, especially if they are getting board nuked, so 3 of copies of Philo. Then we have 4 copies of Overcoming Countless Defeats Amadusa, grade 2 intercept 5k shield, 10k base. Oh yeah, one more thing about Philo. There are 2 more cards for Flam G support, one that gets 10k power, one that gets 10k shield. You could run either or. The reason I choose to run Philo over both is because those only get like the power up either for shield or for aggressive power. I'd rather have Philo who can do both, even if it is a little bit more restrictive compared to those 2 who only have to be placed and you have to have a Flam G Vanguard or bot deck a Flame G card. So take that as you will, but I do love Philo for being able to do both at once if needed. Anyways, Amadusa, grade 2 and 5k shield, 10k base, auto and placed on rear guard circle. Check the top 3, choose up to 1 card with Flame Glam in his card name from Munlo, reveal, put it to your hand, and put the rest on bottom. Yeah, you know what's weird? Only having 4 Flam Gs in the deck, one of which we're at 2, makes that card very inconsistent when searching. Suddenly, you add a 4th Flam G to the mix at 4 copies. Whoop-de-doo! That skill goes off 24/7 and you are almost always hitting a Flam G. You know what's even better? Most of the time, I somehow add this. But still being able to possibly add that is great. Either way, though, being able to add any Flam G to hand at any point once she hits the rear guard, regardless of what grade your Vanguard at, and is regardless what grade your Vanguard, or what your Vanguard is, even if it has a Flam G dam or not. I mean, it will, but you get my point. And add it something to hand is great, because you can get this, extend combos, you can get this, just have another Flam G. If they ever make a PG Flam G, then, you could add that to hand. All around, very solid grade 2 with that skill alone. And continues rear guard for your Vanguards or Flame Glam, it doesn't matter its grade. This unit gets boost. Okay, all around pretty solid. It's just a free booster. And again, like I said before, early game rush, you ride this. On top of this, you called this, you called this, you call Eshma, you use Eshma's skill to bring out Granda. Granda's skill goes off, and then you call Mdusa. Use Mdusa's skill, you get another Flam G to hand, and you have a booster over here. So you have a 20k column. You have, assuming these just went to the back row, you probably have an 18k column, and you have a 16k column. Are pretty solid to early game rush your opponent with that grade 2, so Mdusa makes for a very solid 4 of just for being able to constantly get cards back to hand and be a booster when she hits the board pretty much. Then we have 4 copies of Flam Glam Support Guitar Grandine, and what, calling her Support Guitar is both so fitting because she is the perfect support card for this deck, and is yet so insulting because she deserves more than just the role of support card, but she is really good at what she does. Grade 2. Intercept, 5k shield, 10k base. God, I love this grade 2. Auto when placed on rear guard circle from the hand. CB1, look at the same number of cards from the top of your deck as the number of units with Flam Glam in their card names, counting herself. Doesn't matter if they're different names or not. Choose a card from among them, put it to hand and shuffle your deck. The reason why I bring this up. Call this to rear guard circle. Your Vanguard's a Flam Glam. If you're anything like me, this and this are also on your board. You have 4 Flam Glams, and in that one game that I did have it, you have another copy of this on your board. You have 5 Flam Glams, that you can check the top 5 for. And you add any one card to the hand. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a Flame Glam. It can be a trigger if you need a 15k shield. It can be a PG if you need it. It can be another copy of her, which you can then call to use more CB to add cards to hand with. It does not matter, and this card is so good for it. And then act Rear Guard if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard or Flame Glam in the card name. Energy Blast 2, retire her, and you get the original power of all your units with Flame Glam in their card names become 13,000 power to end of turn. So again, another you, the player, get ability, but an ability that is so good. First up, this doesn't take 3 EB. In fact, they future-proof, not future-proof this, they prepared in advance with Esha, because Esha takes 4 EB. The preferred way would be, it would be 3-3, so you only take 6 EB a turn, but this still takes 6 EB a turn, except in a better way, because now it's Energy Blast 2 and Energy Blast 4, which is still 6, but this card can go off twice. I mean, not like it matters, because the ability would technically stack, and you would still make a 13k anyways, but the energy generator charges 3 energy every turn, so now you're only taking up 2 of your 3, meaning you get to have 1 left over for following turns. So say if the next turn you don't have a Grenda, but you do have an Esha, you can call Eshma and then get another Grenda, or get whatever the hell you need. Pretty solid, and the fact that she makes all your Flame Glams 13k bases doesn't sound like a lot, because it only makes her 3k more, makes this thing 3k more, and makes this thing 3k more. But with an ability to get a grade 0 attacker out and give it a lot of numbers, along with Lycris over here, wrong card, along with Lycris over here, yeah, this card's really good. Full of Grendine. This is the reason why I was so excited to do this deck profile, because as much as I gotta say that I hated them in set 1, or set 2 technically speaking, and set 4, whew, they knew what they were doing when they upgraded this. This is a good support card. They did good with this one. And we have 3 in the main deck, 1 in the red deck of our last grade 2, Flame Glam Verte. Grade 2 and 5k shield, 10k base, auto and upon by a grade 3 card Flame Glam in the card name. If your soul has Flame Glam Burk Crew in it, draw 2 cards, and then choose a card from your hand, bot deck it. The thing I love about this deck, and that I've been doing consistently recently, is I draw 2 off this skill, right? I either draw the over off this, or I already have the over in hand. I bot deck the over, I use Rogia and or Eshma to shuffle the deck and call out another Flam Gem, and then 2 turns later I'll sack the over, whether it's offensively or defensively, and win off it. Weirdly enough, this skill is incredibly useful and has won me several games now. Auto Rear Guard, at the end of this unit attacked, if your Vanguard's a Flame Glam Blue Crew, Soul Boss 1 kill this unit, choose an opponent's Rear Guard, murder it. Okay. The only reason I don't use that skill is because I'm always paranoid that I'm going to run out of soul. Most of the time, you can afford to use this skill. Like, don't go trigger happy with it, but most of the time, like, if your opponent has, like, 1 rear guard that's really pesky, just soul boss 1, kill this thing, kill the rear guard. It's fine, because you're definitely, with the way this deck is constructed, you're not going to run out of Flame Glams. You will always be able to hit the Rogia skill. I'm always just worried that I'm going to either run out of soul or that I am just going to mess up and not have an extra Flame Glam on board. Don't worry, you will have a Flame Glam on board. It's just my paranoia from the previous builds had me thinking otherwise. But all around, pretty solid grade 2. Her on Rotapon skill is really good for cycling back triggers to deck. Not to mention the fact that her on attack skill, or at the end about she attack skill, worst case scenario, if you do end up having the resource for it, can pop an opponent's rear guard, so you can just kind of bully down the opponent. And not to mention that it does not have to attack a Vanguard for that skill, meaning if you want to attack a rear guard with it, regardless of the opponent let it hit or not, if they killed that rear guard, you can then soul boss 1, kill this thing, kill another rear guard, so you can kill a column, you can kill 2 from rear guards. Point is, you can kill 2 rear guards in 1 go. All around, Verte, very solid grade 2 to have. It's a nice 1 up in the ride deck and 3 up in the main deck. She does her job really well. And then we have our last card in the deck, 3 of in the main deck, 1 copy in the ride deck, a Flame Glam Rogia. She has been through a lot. I had hate for her in my heart since set 2. Set 4, I was a little bit more forgiving, but it was more because of Eshma. And then in this set, they dropped Grendine. If you can't tell, I'm in love with this grade 2. Grendine, while yes, all of my love and support is directed towards her, she really makes Rogia shine. Because Rogia's ability doesn't cost any CB, or it does cost CB, but it doesn't cost EB, so this one can kind of go off for free. And this ability, as long as you're smart about it, you can kind of get around it. Hell, I've used Grendine 3 times in a single game and used Rogia twice, and that was without saying heals, and I just chose not to use Lycris that game. And I didn't even use Jonna either, because I don't want to call Jonna to front row. Same reason I don't use Verte skill. I'm just like paranoid as hell, but I'll eventually get used to it. Either way, they'll onto her skill. Active Vanguard, once per turn, Soul Blast 1, search deck for drop zone for up to 1 grade to this card Flame Glam in the card name, call it to rear guard circle, if you search your deck, you shuffle it. Okay. Search your deck or drop zone, get back a card. Or soul, according to this thing. I don't know why it says or soul, but either way, though, being able to search a Flam Gem is great. Again, Grendine, Vert, Janna. Typically it's Janna or Vert for me, just because like I either need a booster or I need or not Vert, either Janna or Grandine. I either need a booster or I need, you know, just Grandine in general. But being able to search Vert as well is also helpful. And then worst case scenario, if you need to search Blue Crew because you maybe need an extra Flam Glam, you can go ahead and do so. And you know, at least now is not the downside of running Blue Crew in the deck, because while yeah, it's a 6k booster most of the time, this turns into a 13k, so it's not too bad. And then Auto Vanguard at the end of this unit attack, if you have 3 or more units with Flam Glam and their different card names, including herself, so her, or her, you can just simple CB1, choose a Flam Glam Bird Crew from your soul, write it as stand until end of turn. That unit loses all of its abilities because, yes, being able to draw one simple card if you went second is so busted at the end of the turn, apparently. But that called or that road unit gets plus 2,000 power for each card in total between you and your opponent's damage zone. So if you have 4 and your opponent has 5, that's a total of plus 18 because there's 9 cards in damage zone. At the end of the turn, choose a Flam Glam Romeo from your soul or drop some right as rest. Oh my god, my paranoia really did get the better of me, because you don't have to have this in soul. You can soul blast it out, so I can just soul blast it out with her. Oh my god, my paranoia really is getting the better of me. Either way though, being able to again, search your deck for a card that doesn't conflict with the cost of Grandine is great, and then also proc Grandine. Obviously, you can't proc Grandine because Grandine can also be placed from hand, but, you know, get you more Flam Glams to proc Grandine with more consistently. And also that she gets you that superior ride is great as well, all for the simple CB of 1. And with combination of Grandine making everything a 13k, imagine, this thing's a 13k, and then then we have like the same damage that I mentioned earlier, so she gets a total of plus 18, so she's a 31k without a booster, especially because you maybe want to use your booster on Rogia. Plus maybe the skill of Lycris over here, which is given to your Vanguard, so now it's at 36k. Persona right turn, 46k. This deck does so well on the Persona right turn that this deck actually won its first match against Alden, a defensive deck. Bushy, thank you so much. You did so well with this set of support. 3 of in the main deck of Rogia, 1 of in the ride deck. Her true strength is finally getting to shine through, because suddenly when you give a deck a really good support card, it does its job well. Without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Honestly, this deck is really good. I'm not going to say that if they don't give us another Flam Glam, we'll be good. That's not necessarily true, but like at least at the rate we're going right now, we're in a solid place. We've got enough Flam Glams to pull off stuff consistently. They gave us a really good supporting Flam Glam, and they did a really good job combining 2 aggressive and defensive cards together into 1. This deck just does everything that it needs to do so well, and I cannot wait to see where Bushy goes next, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I actively hated Flam Glams, and now I love them. So I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us for Twitch, and I'll see you all then. Don't forget to send up your Vanguards.